Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be in the drug business. To me, it was better than being the President of the United States. To be a pharmacist was to own the world. Doesn't matter who you are, your gender, or how much you earn. All these moments will fade in time, like tears in the rain. Do we look like we give a damn? It's either get busy living or get busy dying. Sooner or later, you'll have to meet us. We are a part of your life. They call us the Big Pharma fellas.
An indicator of a company's short-term liquidity. Measurement a company's ability to meet its short-term obligations with the most liquid assets. Financial health of the company. Quick ratio. Quick ratio of pharmaceutical giants like Novartis, Merck & Co, Pfizer and Roche. So, let's start with Novartis. Novartis quick ratio, as we see in 2010, was 0.73, and in 2015 it rose to 0.88%, which is really good. Company made some investments and its liabilities increased. That's why it was so volatile till 2015. Merck & Co. initial year was 1.25%. It increased to 1.38% in 2015. As we see, it's not very stable because of pharmaceutical giants, like all of them are making a lot of investments in researches and innovations, so none of them are very stable right now. Pfizer. In 2010, 1.51 quick ratio. In 2015, 1.86. As we can see, it goes up and it increases till 2015, starting from 2010. Russia Holding, starting in 2010, it was 1.84, and unfortunately, its quick ratio fell to 1.34 in 2015. So, overall, we can conclude that more stable company is Pfizer with its quick ratio 1.86, and starting from 2010 it was only increasing and increasing if we don't include 2011 when it decreased to 1.44.
In order to see how efficient the management of the company is in retaining earnings based on its total number of assets, we use the return on assets ratio. We start by analyzing the Swiss giant Novartis. Its ratio in 2010 was 9.31%. It had a steady increase during the last 5 years, where in 2015 it reached a ratio of 13.93%. Then we go to Merck & Co. Merck & Co started off in 2010 with a ratio of just 0.79%, which is quite low compared to its competitors. But during the last 5 years, it had a steady growth, and in 2015, it reached a good number, which is 10.52%. We go on to Pfizer. Pfizer had a ratio of 4.90% in 2010. During the last 5 years, it showed a little bit of growth, not a significant amount, where in 2015, it achieved a value of 5.02% in return on assets. We continue to Russia Holding. In 2010, Russia Holding had a ratio of 13.61%. It was one of the highest ratios of all companies. During the last 5 years, it has had some ups and downs. And in 2015, it had a ratio of 12.85%. Comparing all the four companies, we see that in the last year it was Novartis who had the highest ratio in terms of return on assets with 13.93%. But if we speak about the growth during all 5 years, we see that Roche has had higher ratios and a more steady development.
We want to talk about the return on equity now, which is a measurement of the profitability of a corporation which is generated from the shareholders' investments. So we want to start with Novartis. So it has started this decade with 16.44% and had a stable growth to 24.36% in the last 5 years. And it's quite stable. So we want to move on to Marks & Co., who have started with not even 2% of returns on equity, and since then have been growing their percentage and are ending the 5 years with 23% of return on equity, and that's quite notable. Next is Pfizer, who have been maintaining their position throughout the 5 years and have only generated a growth of almost 3% throughout the 5 years, and are ending the 2015 year with almost 12% of return on equity. Moving on, we have the Roche Holding, who have started their decade with an astonishing 108% of returns on equity, and have since then dropped the number by 2. But anyways, they surpassed their competitors by 30 or even more %.
I would like to talk about earnings per share. Earnings per share is the net income minus dividends paid divided to shares outstanding. This ratio is similar to price to earnings ratio. The only difference is that it also shows the amount of shares outstanding. So an investor can see how much his share actually cost relative to the amount outstanding on the market. This is an essential ratio, and I would like to look at 4 of our companies. And first of all is Novartis. As we can see, it was falling during last years. As in 2013 it was higher, and 2015 is just 0.77. This is not a good ratio because it's not even 1. The best company out of these 4 is the American Co. As we can see, it was rising from 2013 from 146 to 374, and in 2014 it even had 4.08 because it achieved good asset management tactics, which raised the price. Pfizer fell for the last 3 years, as we can see, from 3 to 114. And finally Russia, also it used to fall from 175 to 136. Overall, out of all these 4, the American Co is the best company for earnings per shares, as we can see. And relative to the price of the share, we can say that American Co is the best investment out of these 4, based on the earnings per share ratio. So.
Now when I was a little boy, at the age of 5, I had something in my pocket, keeps a lot of folks alive. Now I'm a man of 21, you know baby, we can have a lot of fun. I'm a man, style and Little Johnny the Cockaroo. I'm a man